Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session, we are going to see very important articles that appear in our today's Hindi newspaper. Let us see the important articles of the day. If you see the articles of the day, the first article it is about polygamy ban bill tabled in Assam Legislative Assembly. So recently we discussed that Assam is going to ban polygamy and for that they came up with a bill. And we are going to see about the highlights of this bill. And this topic is very important from your guardian's point of view and even from your society from GS paper 1. And next article it is about toxic air is a year-round blight in 60% of Indian districts, says one study. One study is saying that there is increased concentration of PM 2.5 levels in our atmosphere. And here there's a very high chance of getting question regarding this PM 2.5 in your prelims. And this topic is very important from your environment and ecology from your GS paper 3, guys. And next topic of the day, it is about mule accounts. So there is one small article in your Hindi newspaper which mainly says that, yes, police identified 8 people who involved in this mule accounts. So just let us see what is this meaning of mule accounts. It is important from your economy point of view from GS paper 3. And next topic is Guru Tej Bahadur set an ideal of bravery, says Modi. Actually, we are celebrating anniversary regarding this Guru Tej Bahadur Singh. So here there's a very high chance of getting question from your history point of view. So we are going to see that article from history from GS paper 1. Our next topic is there is one article regarding manual scavenging deaths in India and High Court orders aid to families. And this aid which is mainly said by High Court of Calcutta, guys. So here we have to see what is manual scavenging and you have to see what are the reasons for this manual scavenging, what are the laws present in our country and what is the way forward. And this topic is very important from GS paper 2. And next topic is for Assam tea, erratic climate and stagnant prices present a crisis. So this article is talking about tea, guys. And many a times UPSC asked question from geography point of view regarding tea board, which of the following states will go for tea production and what are the geographical conditions for production of tea, all those things from geography point of view. And now this article is saying that because of this climate change, the quality of tea can be changed. So because of this, it is going to affect lacks of livelihood in this Assam region. And this topic is important from geography and as well as environment and ecology, guys. And next topic is a landmark law in 2013. It needs a spine in 2025. This article is talking about one important act called as POSH Act. Here we have to know what is the meaning of sexual harassment and you have to say about what are the provisions of this POSH Act. And this article is talking about what are the loopholes or challenges in this act. And we are going to see that in detail, guys. And this topic is important from GS paper 2 under governance point of view. And now let us see each and every article in a great detail from both prelims and mains point of view, guys. See this title? Assam proposes jail term, heavy fines for polygamy. So what is the keyword here? The keyword is polygamy. This topic you will be studying in your society, guys. In your Indian society, you will be studying about this key features or salient features of that society, especially Indian society. In that, we will be studying about marriage as one social institution. So, gamy means nothing but marriage. And poly means nothing but many. So, if a person, either male or female, if they are going for many marriages, that marriage concept is called as polygamy. Okay, now why this polygamy is in use? Is polygamy right? No. So here what is in use is now Assam governments want to ban this polygamy, especially Islam community or Muslim community in this Assam, they are going for this polygamy. So because of this, it is violating fundamental rights of women in that region. So because of this, Assam government now wants to ban this polygamy. So because of that, they came up with a bill to prohibit polygamy. And in this bill, now they made certain changes like increasing of punishment and as well as fine in this bill. And now they are going to table this in legislative assembly, guys. So because of this, this is in news. And now let us see what this bill is about and why Assam government came up with this bill and why we need this bill now. And here we have different religions in our country. Like we have Hinduism, we have Christianity, we have Buddhism, Jainism, Parsi, whatever it may be. So every religion will be guided by their own religious code. But in our constitution, we have UCC. What is UCC? Uniform Civil Code. That means related to civil matters like marriage, divorce, adoption, property, descent, ancestry, everything. We need to have a single law that is called as UCC. Which article talks about this UCC in our constitution? Article 44 of Indian Constitution talks about UCC. But problem with this UCC is it is not implemented uniformly in our country. Recently, which state implemented this UCC? Uttarakhand. Before that, Goa. Only 2 states in our country implemented this UCC so far. Okay, so here again we can connect this topic with again UCC. Why we can't implement this UCC uniformly? What are the challenges regarding this UCC also? Now let us see the present context. Assam Chief Minister tabled the Assam Prohibition of Polygamy Bill 2025 in Legislative Assembly during winter session. So finally, Chief Minister of Assam tabled this bill. And this bill seeks to criminalize polygamy. Polygamy is nothing but you already did first marriage and you have your spouse without formal divorce. Again, you're going for marrying of another person. At a time, you will be having multiple spouses. This type of marriage is called as polygamy. And they are going to criminalize this polygamy across the state. And they imposed strict penalties, punishments, and fines if anyone goes for this polygamy in Assam case. If you're talking about certain provisions regarding this bill, what this bill says is, first one is punishment. Conviction for polygamy will attract rigorous imprisonment up to 7 years. So if there is any case of polygamy which had been recorded in this Assam, they will be getting punishment of 7 years and even fine. And next one is compensation fund. They are going to establish a state victim relief fund. Why? Because if there are any victims who were the victims of polygamy, then they will be going to get financial support. For that, state government is going to establish one new state victim relief fund. For example, regarding this rape victims, central government came up with Nirbhaya fund, right? In the same way, in the state of polygamy, in the state of Assam, regarding this polygamy victims, they are going to establish a separate dedicated fund for victims. And this is applicable throughout Assam, excluding 6 scheduled areas. As you know, government will be providing certain safety and security for the scheduled tribes under Schedule 5 and as well as Schedule 6. Schedule 6 is nothing but AMMT, that is Assam, Meghalaya and Mizoram, Tripura states have this Schedule 6 where they can have their autonomous district council which will be guiding their land rights and as well as civil related things. Except this autonomous district areas of Assam, this law will be applicable throughout the state. And this one is, it draws the strength from Article 44. Article 44 talks about Uniform Civil Code. And even we have Article 15 subclass 3 which will empower the state to make special provisions for women. And one more important thing that you have to remember is the offense under this bill will be cognizable and they will be not getting even bail. They are non-bailable offenses. And if you are talking about why this kind of law came up with this Assam, because of prevalence of polygamy in our country. According to National Family Health Survey 5 data, there is prevalence of polygamy in India at 1.4%. And National Family Health Service 4 says that 1.9% of polygamy marriages are happening in India. And especially in religions like Muslims, 1.9%, in Hindus, 1.3%, Christians, 1%, and in tribal groups, 2.4% of polygamy is prevalent. And especially if you see the regions, Higher prevalence of this polygamy is seen in northeastern states like Meghalaya, Mizoram, Assam because of their own tribal customary laws. And even they have matrilineal traditions. Matrilineal is nothing but female dominated societies will be there in that northeastern part. That is the reason why there is very high rate of polygamy in this northeastern states. And now Assam came up with this law of banning of polygamy. And why we have to prohibit this polygamy? You have to think on this. First one here is if you want to ensure gender equality, if male are going for having this number of marriages, here female should also have that right? But what is happening in patriarchal society, men are going for having many wives. In matriarchal society, women are going for many husbands. So because of this, can we ensure gender equality? And actually gender equality, right to equality is part of fundamental rights of our constitution, right? For example, to ensure gender equality, to uphold article 14 and 15, we have to decriminalize, we have to go for criminalizing of this what polygamy. And next one is constitutional morality, and we have article 44 and it promotes secular legal uniformity in marriage laws. For that we have to see this. And next one here is recently one judgment called as Javed versus State of Haryana in 2003 said that polygamy is not an essential religious practice. Already Supreme Court gave this judgment that polygamy is not essential practice of religion, then why we have to follow? Again, this will also give a backdrop for this criminalizing of polygamy now in India. And this one here is whenever we are going for banning of this polygamy, it will provide women empowerment. Women will be protected from economic insecurity and mental distress, marginalization, etc. And this one here is if you see the global practices in some Arab countries like Turkey, Tunisia, Indonesia, they also regulated or banned this polygamy in line with protection of women empowerment or women rights. So the same way India can also come up with this kind of laws which prevents or which prohibits polygamy in our country. Okay, see this next article guys. Toxic air is a year-round blight in 60% of Indian districts. And if you see the PYQs of prelims, many a times UPSC asks questions regarding pollutants in air. Which of the following are greenhouse gases? Which of the following are the major pollutants? Like that, they already gave you the question. So there is also a chance of repeating of that once again the question regarding pollutants in air. Because this article is talking about PM 2.5 concentration in our atmosphere. So normally if you see the pollutants, we have nitrogen oxides, we have sulfur oxides, we have PM 2.5, we have PM 10, and we have water vapor, we have ozone, O3 at ground level will be acting as a pollutant, and even carbon dioxide. So all these are the major air pollutants in our atmosphere. So you have to see them in increasing and decreasing concentration in our atmosphere guys. So they may ask question regarding that. If you see the context, it says that a recent analysis by Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air reveals that around 60% of our Indian districts, that is 447 out of 749 districts, they are experiencing year round, that means all time air pollution. And this is the thing which mainly said by the study which is focusing on particulate matter. The annual limit of particulate matter 2.5 which is decided by this NAAQS is 40 micrograms per meter cube, but this level is exceeding day by day. So here in this article you have to remember two data points. First one is whatever the limit which is given by this national ambient air quality standard is, every year, that means per year we have to maintain this PM 2.5 level should be less than 40 microgram per meter cube. And second data is WHO also gave the data. WHO guideline says that it should be less than 5 μg per meter cube guys. So here these are the two data points that you have to remember. On these data points you may get prelims based statement guys. Okay, now if you see the key findings of this report which says that no district met this WHO standard. Every district is having PM 2.5 level which is more than 5 micrograms per meter cube. And it is 8 times stricter than India's NAQS levels. And in this major areas which are affected with the bad air qualities, first one is Delhi. PM 2.5 level is 101 μg per meters cube. That is 2.5 more than what is the limit which is given by NAAQS. And next one here is Chandigarh is the second place which is having 70 μg per meter cube. And next one is Haryana 63, Tripura 62 guys. So like this, mostly 60% of districts in India, they are not maintaining proper air quality in India. And especially Indo-Gangetic Plain remains epicenter. Always in winter season, we are not following the guidelines. We are not following strict measures. And especially post-monsoon region in this northeastern region, in the parts of central India and this Indo-Gangetic Plain, the worsening of air quality is happening. Why? Because even we have to see the jet streams, and even we have to see the movement of reversal of winds during this northeast monsoons case. And in yesterday's class, we discussed about one volcanic eruption in this Ethiopia. Can you recall? So because of this volcanic eruption, after 12,000 years, this volcano got erupted once again. And in this eruption, it released ash into the sky up to 10 kilometers. And what is happening here is that ash is drawn towards India, and 5 states of India were on severe, serious alert now in India. They are Delhi, Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, and UP. What is happening here is, these jet streams. Jet streams are the fast moving winds which are present in our atmosphere. They are bringing this ash towards India. And in these 5 states, we have severe alert. And actually, because of this cloud, ash cloud, and its dust which is entering into India, even there is very low visibility in Delhi now. And because of this, many flights in this Delhi had been cancelled, and even we are rerouting the routes of different aeroplanes which are coming from this UAE to India, guys. So here, if something is happening in other country, it will be also happening. It will be also impacting India. This is one best example. We can say how environmental disasters in other countries will affect other countries like India. Okay, in the same way here, what is happening here? Because of this increasing of PM 2.5 levels, obviously it will be having huge impact on health of the people, and as well as there will be bad air quality. Because of this, what happens? It will cause severe accidents during this winters because of the formation of haze and as well as fog. If you see what are the sources of this PM 2.5, the first important source is industries. Industries will release lots of emissions into atmosphere, especially coal fire power plants, cement factories, brick kilns. They release sulfates and heavy metals. And you already know that most of our electricity we produce from thermal power. Because of this, there is high amount of release of carbon dioxide emissions and as well as particulate 2.5 levels into atmosphere. And next one here is vehicular exhaust. Everyone have their own private vehicle, and we are not getting satisfied with one vehicle. We need multiple based on the occasions we go and based on the place we have to reach. So because of this, what is happening here? There is increased vehicular exhaust. That is also leading to increasing of nitrogen dioxide emissions and as well as black carbon into atmosphere. And next one is biomass and household fuels. If you go to rural areas, so what is a major source of fuel? We'll use firewood, especially for cooking and for other purposes. Whenever we are burning this firewood, obviously it will release soot into atmosphere. That is also one source of PM 2.5. And next one is agriculture residue burning. If you go to this Punjab, Haryana region, what these farmers will do, whatever the leftover crop or like after harvesting, what are the waste that is there, that is called as stubble or paroli, they'll go for simply burning of that rather than using it for animal feed like that. So because of that also it will be increasing this PM 2.5 levels. And next one here is we are focusing on smart cities mission and we are focusing on rapid infrastructure. In this process, we will go for construction of different infrastructure projects. Because of this construction also, in that construction we will be using normally sand. Instead of sand, what we are using now, we are using dust. And rather than that, we are also using cement, which is having like some very, very fine particles. So because of this also, the construction dust and the waste from these construction sites will also increases PM 2.5 levels. And apart from that, we have secondary aerosol formation. Secondary aerosol formation is nothing but whatever the oxides which are present in the atmosphere will react with some other products in the presence of sunlight, and that will lead to formation of secondary products. So because of the secondary products also there will be increasing of bad air quality. And next one here is geoclimatic vulnerabilities are happening, especially monsoon wash, some but redistribute via wind. Climate change intensifies this prolonged dry spells. So what is happening here is, as I said, one example just now, that is volcanic eruption in Ethiopia led to increasing of pollutants, ash in our country. So like that, if you see these climatic conditions, if something is happening in one country, it will be affecting other countries. So that is also one major reason why these geoclimatic vulnerabilities are there in our country. And next one is socio-economic drivers, especially there is increasing of population density and population rise is happening in our country. Obviously, whenever there is increasing of population, increasing of pollution. And not only that, poverty is also increasing. Because of poverty increasing, what we'll do is, if you are traveling on the road, sometimes you can say from autos you will be seeing extensive black smoke will be coming out. Why? Because they will be mixing kerosene also in that petrol and they will be using that. Rather than using petrol, some people they will directly use kerosene as the fuel in majority of autos, which is a great problem in our country. So because of this poverty, rather than using clean fuels, we will start using dirty fuels. Because of that, what happens? That will releases more pollution into atmosphere, guys. Okay, see this next article. 8-member gang held for running mule bank accounts. So you may get questioned like this. Recently, mule bank accounts are in news. What are they? Or else consider the following statements regarding this mule bank accounts. And they'll give you 2 to 3 statements and they may ask you how many of above statements are correct or incorrect. Okay, if you see about this mule, do you know this mule? Mule is nothing but donkey hybridization. We will be call it as mule. What is this mule bank account? So mule bank account is nothing but this kind of accounts will be used by criminals for illegal activities, especially for money laundering. So what is this money laundering? We are going to make this money clean. Whatever the black money we have, we are going to convert into clean money, white money through this illegal means. So for that laundering, money laundering purposes, mainly criminals they will be using this bank accounts. And mule account, it is a typically brought over by the criminals from original users, individuals who are often from the lower income groups. Actually, what happened, if you have seen many movies, so rich people and illegal activities who are doing like criminals, they will be coming in contact with this poor laborers and poor income groups, and they will be using their accounts for the transferring of money. Have you ever identified this kind of things? And even recently one movie, I can't recall that movie, Dhanush, Nagarjuna, he's a beggar. Yes, in that Kubera movie also, that people they want to go for money laundering and illegal money transfer. So for that they will be selecting 4 beggars and they will be creating bank accounts, Swiss bank accounts, and they will be using their accounts for money transferring like that. So that those kind of that is a perfect example of mule accounts, guys. So here, if you want to convert your illegal money into money laundering, and if you want to convert or if you want to transfer that money illegally, so we will take help of this low income group people's bank accounts and we will do all those activities, and that people will not know nothing what is happening in their accounts. That kind of accounts are called as mule accounts. Normally during this demonetization time also, many mule accounts were activated in our country. That is the one important reason why we didn't eliminate this black money completely thoroughly in our country. Why? Because many people they have this zero bank account through this Jan Dhan Yojana. At that time, money transferred to these people and they used to convert them. Okay, that is the one important problem with this mule accounts, guys. Okay, and now government came up with one AI, guys. You have to remember this. That AI name is Mule Hunter AI. Through this Mule Hunter AI, our government is tackling with this mule accounts. Okay, what is this Mule Hunter AI? It is an AI or machine learning based model, and it is developed by RBI Innovation Hub, and it is a subsidiary of our Reserve Bank, and this model enables the detection of mule bank accounts in an efficient manner. And now they are using this as a pilot project in 2 banks, and they are getting excellent results in identifying this mule accounts. And if you are going to implement this Mule Hunter AI in almost all the banks, means we can try to eliminate this mule accounts, and we can stop this money laundering to some extent, guys. So where you can use this Mule Hunter AI, whenever you are writing any answer regarding advantages of AI or applications of AI, how this AI will be helpful in governance process. Or if you are writing any essay regarding AI, it is a boon or a bane. In that kind of articles and essays, you can use this as a case study, guys. Mule Hunter AI. Okay, now let us see the next article. Title says Guru Tej Bahadur set an ideal of bravery, says Modi. And for sure, this year you will be getting question regarding this Guru Tej Bahadur, guys. Very, very important article. Why? Because we are celebrating 358th Sahedi Divas of Guru Tej Bahadur Sahib this year. From history point of view, you can expect questions like 50 years anniversary or 75 years anniversary or 100 years, 125, 150, 200, 250, and this is 350th. So here you can get a question regarding this Guru Tej Bahadur, and you have to know certain facts regarding this person, guys. Very, very important article of the day. So recently our Prime Minister of India paid tribute to Guru Tej Bahadur on his 350th martyrdom day. So because of this, it is very important. So who is this Guru Tej Bahadur? He was 9th Sikh Guru, important 9th Sikh Guru, and he is very much famous for his teachings, bravery and martyrdom. And he was born on 21st April 1621 in Amritsar to 6th Guru. So he born to 6th Guru. His name is Guru Har Gobind, and his mother name is Mata Nanki. His original name was Tyagmal, and he received a holistic education, and he also got trained in scriptures by this renowned Bhai Gurudas in martial arts. And his contributions were, as a guru, he contributed 116 hymns to Guru Granth Sahib. It is a famous holy book of Sikhs, right? So for that holy book, he contributed 116 hymns, guys. Yeah, that is the thing. And for his supreme sacrifice, he got one title. Please make a note of this. Hind Di Chadar, Hind Di Chadar, Shield of India. So you may get question like this. Shield of India is title of who of the following. Like that, they'll give you 4 options, and those 4 options will be from the 6 gurus only. So in that time, it will be very difficult to you to identify. So in this way, you have to remember the titles also. You can check your PYQs, where UPSC also has tendency to ask simple questions based on the titles of the people. In 2025 prelims also, there was a title regarding Rajendra 1. Okay, now let us see the next article. Title says manual scavenging debts. High Court orders aid to families. This article is talking about manual scavenging. So you have to know what is a manual scavenging, why this manual scavenging is there now in use. What is meaning of manual scavenging? If you go to earlier days, there was no proper sanitation, right? At that time, Dalits used to have this work of manual scavenging. They used to manually remove this human excreta, and even they used to clean this washrooms, bathrooms, everything. And their role, it is to keep the surroundings clean. If there is any animal died, so their role is to remove that dead animals from the surroundings, and their entire work is to maintain sanitation in that areas. So because of this, what is happening? These people will be doing insanitated work. That means they are not doing the healthy work. So they will come in contact with this human excreta, microorganisms, everything. So because of this, what happens? They will be getting easy diseases. And nowadays, after once we lean this drains, and even these people, they are doing this work of cleaning of drains. I think you might have seen many images and many times on the road that humans will be entering into the drains and they will be cleaning this blocked drains, everything. So whenever humans directly going into that drain, is that good for the health? No, because of this, they will be getting serious infections and sometimes they will die because of this infections case. And if you see the salary of those workers, the salary is bare minimum. It will be not like high-fi salary as the software engineer will get. Yes or no? Yes. So because of this now, recently a case was filed in Calcutta High Court regarding the death of manual scavengers. And finally, Calcutta High Court gave a judgment regarding the compensation to be given for these families from which they lost their family members because of this manual scavenging. If you see the context, this article is saying that Calcutta High Court orders directing 30 lakh compensation to each for the families of 4 manual scavengers who died in 2021 Kolkata sewer tragedy. In Kolkata sewer tragedy, around 4 people they died because of manual scavenging, and they filed a case in the court, and finally judgment came that yes, that family should get 30 lakh rupees as compensation. So what is the meaning of manual scavenging? It refers to the practice of physically handling or cleaning human excreta by individuals. It involves manual cleaning of human excreta from insanitary toilets and even in open drains, pits or railway tracks, whatever the places may be. So whenever these people are going for manual cleaning of human excreta, that work is called as manual scavenging. If you read your NCRTs, they will be describing one story that one woman, she used to take that human excreta and she used to keep that in one bowl and she used to carry on her head also. So like that, these people played a very important role in making this areas clean. Okay, if you see the data, as per the Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and the Rehabilitation Act 2013, manual scavenging it refers to the practice of manually cleaning, carrying or handling human excreta. And manual scavenging is being officially banned since 1993. So since 1993 onwards, this manual scavenging is banned. But even today in 2025 also, we can see there are certain reports which says that manual scavenging deaths are recorded in our country. That means we can understand clearly that there is no proper enforcement and implementation of laws in our country regarding manual scavenging. And if you see the data as per 2024, 766 districts in our country, out of which 732 districts have reported themselves they are manual scavenging free. But remaining districts for sure, we have this manual scavenging. What are the steps taken by the government so far to eliminate this scavenging? You have to remember this for sure, guys. It will be a mains based question. Government came up with legislative measures. That means government came up with laws. First one is Prohibition of Employment and Manual Scavengers and Rehabilitation Act of 2013. Under this act, government is providing for prohibition of this manual scavenging employment, and they are focusing on rehabilitation of manual scavengers. And if there is any offense which had been recognized, means that offense is cognizable and again non-bailable offense under this act. And this one is we have Employment of Manual Scavengers and Construction of Dry Latrines Prohibition Act of 1993. So this act which prescribes the punishments regarding anyone who had been employed this manual scavenger, means that person will be punished under this act. And even we have Civil Rights Act. For example, you know about this SC/ST Atrocities Act. That is nothing but Civil Rights Act of 1955. And even we made some amendments and we came up with this SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act of 1989. Through this act, we are trying to protect the rights of STs and as well as STs in India. And government came up with schemes called as Namaste scheme. Very, very important, Namaste scheme. In this Namaste scheme, they are focusing on providing of skills and they are letting know this manual scavengers regarding which kind of advanced technology can be used rather than human handling with this waste. And next one here is we have Swachh Bharat Mission 2.0, and government is providing funds under this mission to provide smaller towns to acquire machines rather than human handling of that waste. And we are focusing on improving of mechanization for treating of this drainage. And next one is we have one dedicated institution in our country called as National Commission for Safai Karmacharis. And it got statutory status in year 1994. And next one is we have National Safai Karmachari Financial Development Corporation also. It is a non-profit company under Social Justice Ministry, and it is providing loans and as well as non-loan based schemes for the Safai Karmacharis case. In this way, government is having lots of steps taken to control this manual scavenging, but even though it is happening. So if you see other initiatives which are taken by the government of India, so these points in this blue box will give value for your answer. So we have Safai Mitra Suraksha Challenge, we have Swachhata Abhiyan app, Rashtriya Gram Abhiyan, and we have National Commission for Safai Karmacharis, Swachhata Udyami Yojana, and we have Recognition for Prior Learning Program, Namaste Program, and Emergency Response Sanitation Units. Apart from this, government also came up with technological advancements. What are those? First one is Bandicoot robot. So we can release this robot into these drains, and so that it will go and it will clear these drains. And next one is we have Endobot or Swasth AI app. So this will diagnose pipelines to detect and it will mitigate water contamination, wastage and sewer overflows. And we have Robo Drain System. It is automated robotic technology for cleaning of underground sewers. And nowadays we are also having these vacuum trucks. They use powerful pumps to remove sewage waste. For example, I think if your drain in your home had been filled with the drainage, we'll call one septic tank number, and they will come and they will insert the pipes into that so and so drain, and they will be removing that waste, right? Those are vacuum trucks. Okay. So in this way, government is using certain technology to handle this manual scavenging in our country. For sure, you will be getting a mains-based question regarding this manual scavenging this year. And if you see this article, it says that for Assam tea, erratic climate and stagnant prices present a crisis. So here you can expect 3 to 4 types of prelims-based questions, guys. First one is they will ask about geographical conditions necessary for production of tea. First important, for example, how much rainfall it is required, how much sunny days it requires, which kind of soil it is required, and which kind of areas we can go this. So in this way you will be getting question regarding this geographical condition. And second one here is, I think this was a question 2020 or 2021 prelims, which of the following states produce tea in India? That means you have to see which states are producing tea in India. You know this Assam. Apart from that, which states? We also know about this Karnataka is famous for tea. And apart from that, which southern states are producing this tea? You have to know that. And next one is in 2023, there was a question regarding Tea Board of India. So regarding the sales of this tea, we have tea board. And regarding the coffee, we have coffee board. So regarding the Tea Board of India, also the question had asked in UPSC in 2023, guys. And now the article, it is about Assam tea, erratic climate and stagnant prices present a crisis. That means this article is linking this climate change with this tea production in India. So this article is saying that tea is an economic lifeline for over 12 lakh workers. And if you see here, we need manual labor for collecting of tea leaves. They have to cut this leaf one by one. The work of these laborers who are working in these tea gardens will be like cutting off leaves only with that hand picked leaves, and they will be using this kind of bamboo related baskets to collect that leaves. So based on how many leaves they will collect per a day, they will be getting salary based on that. They will get very less meager salary for this tea laborers. And here, if this tea is affected, it will be affecting lifeline for around 12 lakh tea laborers who are working in India. And here this article is saying that there is unpredictable weather which has left farmers with blackened leaves. The leaves are becoming black in color, and even wilting bushes. Sometimes if you see the leaves will be like scrolled, rolled like that. So that is also one problem that is seen in this tea now. And next one is Yeah, weather is not properly supporting for the proper growth of tea leaves now in that region. And because of this, what is happening, the tea prices will be obviously less. So if you are getting high quality tea powder, the price will be obviously more. If you are getting less quality tea powder, means obviously the price will be reduced. If price is reducing in the market, the profits of that company will be obviously reduced. Will they give more salaries for these workers? Obviously the salaries will be cut down. That is a problem here. And despite of inflation, tea prices are not high in the market. Tea prices are remaining stagnant. So because of this, now it is very hard situation for that tea garden owners and as well as the workers to get proper livelihood. It is entirely because of this climate change. Okay. And here this article is saying that we have to have a clear cut climate data, and we have to use future grids, and we can identify what will be the climate by 2050, and we have to go for identification of locations which are unsuitable for the growth of this tea, and we have to go for forcing cultivation shift towards other areas, and the flavor and aroma depends upon this precise climatic rhythms only. Whatever the flavors, for example, in tea powder, if you go to DMart or any other shop, we can have different flavors of tea. We have lamsa tea. Do you know, only we have tea related shops separately, lamsa tea, chocolate tea, like that. They will be adding certain things. So based on that, you will be having different aroma, taste of the tea. So based on that, the price will be charged by the tea shop owner. So what is happening here is this article is saying that the flavor and aroma of this tea will be depend on the climate. If you are having suitable climate, we will be getting good aroma and flavor. If climate is not good, again this flavor will be getting affected. That will be affected the global prices, and India will not become competitive in exports of tea to other countries also. It will be having a huge impact on overall our economy which we are getting from this tea, guys. Okay, so because of this, yes, we have to focus on finding of climatic adversities or climatic future predictions, and we have to focus on research and development in our country regarding this climate, guys. And now let us see the next article. A landmark law in 2013. It needs a spine in 2025. This article is talking about very important act that is called as POSH Act. Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act. Okay, first of all, we have to know what is called as sexual harassment. What is called as sexual harassment at workplace? Sexual harassment at workplace, it refers to unwelcome sexual advances, and if there are any demand for sexual favors or any verbal or any physical conduct of a sexual nature that occurs at workplace is called as sexual harassment. If you see, as per the data of NCR, National Crimes Record Bureau 2022, over 419 cases they were seen. On average, 35 cases per every month we can see in every institution where women are working, guys. So because of this, this is a very great problem for India. Why? Because when we want to ensure this gender equality, we have to provide the safety, and we are saying that there is very low participation of women in workforce. If we want to increase that, obviously we have to focus on improving of security. And even if you want to increase the GDP of our country and the contribution of women to the GDP, obviously we have to provide safety for women at the workplace. For all this, we need to have proper implementation of this POSH Act in almost all organizations where women are working. You have to see about the history, why this POSH Act came into existence. If you see the history, in 1992 one incident happened. That famous incident was Banwari Devi incident. Actually, she is a social worker, and at that time she was stopping one child marriage. She tried to prevent marriage of 1 year old girl. At that time, 1 year old girl marriage she want to stop. And at that time, what happened? The community, the people from other community, they sexually assaulted her. That led to one incident, and at that time, people thought that yes, wherever women are working, we need to provide the security for women. That is the first incident which led to the foundation of this POSH Act. And after that, you know about this nurse Vishaka guidelines. So one nurse who is working and she is going to have her marriage next day, but before day itself, one person who had sexually assaulted her brutally and she was in coma, and at that time Supreme Court also gave judgment regarding euthanasia, guys, permitted euthanasia. At that time Supreme Court said that we need to come up with the proper stricter guidelines which will focus on women's safety at the workplace. That led to this Vishaka guidelines, guys. And this Vishaka guidelines says that yes, what are the rules and regulations to be followed by organization, how they have to provide safety for women in their working place. That is about Vishaka guidelines. And after that, in our constitution, we have Article 15, which talks about protection against discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. Again, here we have sex. That means there should not be any discrimination for that reason. And next one is we have certain international conventions and norms like general recommendations of the Convention of Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. So this is one international convention and even India ratified that. So because of this, India has to make certain guidelines. And later on, POSH bill was introduced by Women and Child Development Ministry in 2007, but with some changes, with lots of disturbances, with lots of hurdles. Finally, this had been passed in year 2013, and that led to foundation of this POSH Act 2013 in our country, guys. So that is about the brief history regarding why this POSH Act came in India. And if you see these provisions, first one is it will define sexual harassment. What is sexual harassment according to this act? It includes all unwelcome acts like physical, verbal or non-verbal, whenever there is any demand or request for sexual favors, making sexually colored remarks or showing pornography, whatever it may be, it will come under this sexual harassment. I think you might know about this casting couch. Recently, last year, in Kerala, one committee said about Hema committee. Yeah, Hema committee said about casting couch is still present in this television sector. What is casting couch? They will be asking about the sexual favors. If you want to get this heroine character in that so and so serial, or if you want to get the lead character, you have to spend one night or 2 nights with me. So that is called as casting couch. So that is also one example of sexual harassment at working place, even in this cinematography, in this silver screens, whatever it may be. So we have this kind of sexual harassment at working place. That is called as casting couch. And next one is, it lists down the 5 circumstances that would constitute the sexual harassment. So what are those 5 things are? First one is explicit promise of preferential treatment in employment. That means if you are doing certain sexual favor, I will be giving you certain post or promotions. And next one is explicit threat of determination treatment in employment. If you are not doing any sexual favor, then I will discriminate you, I'll scold you, like that. And next one is, it is also a threat about present or future employment status. If you are not giving sexual favor, then I will be removing you from the job. And you will be not getting any future opportunities in any other companies. Like that, if you are threatening any person or any employee. And next one is interference with the work or creating intimidating or offensive or hostile work environment. If you are not providing proper environment for that so and so employee to work in your organization. And this one is humiliating treatment is likely to affect health or safety. If any treatment that you are giving to that so and so employee, if that is humiliating, if it is having any mental stress or physical injury or else, then that will be also considered as sexual harassment. And it defines an employee. And this one is, it expands the definition of workplace. According to this definition, this workplace includes all kind of organizations across all sectors, even non-traditional places like telecommunications, places even visited by the employees for work, whatever it may be. In as an employee, whatever the area that they are using to work, everything comes under this place of work under this act. And if you see, one important problem in this act here is, act said that we have to appoint one ICC, that is Internal Complaints Committee, and we have to have a local committee. especially if there is any organization which is having more than 10 employers. In that organization, it is the responsibility of that owner of that so and so organization to establish one committee, and this committee has to deal with this kind of sexual harassment related cases. And if you see this composition of this ICC, it is required to consist a minimum number of 4 members, and in this 4 members, at least 50%, that means 2 persons should be women, and and a presiding officer who has to be a woman employed at a senior level. So who is the woman at the senior level? She has to be the member of this internal complaints committee, and even they have to include 1 person from NGO or a social worker also under this committee. But the problem here is there is no proper implementation of ICC at most of organizations who are employing even more than 10 employers under that organization. If you see the hurdles, why this article is saying that we have to come up with the changes because of the hurdles. What are the hurdles? The law has increasingly inaccessible to women in informal sector. So here mainly 90% of employment in India is in informal sector only. Only about 10% of workers they are working organized sector or formal sector. And in this formal sector, they are doing certain steps or taking certain steps to upon this ICC. That means they are providing certain security for the women. But majorly women who are working in this informal sector, they are not getting safety under this act. That is the first problem. And second one is huge underreporting because of power dynamics of organization, because of fear of professional thing, loss of employment, everything. There is underreporting which is happening in this organizations. Women are not coming forward to report this kind of harassment. And next one here is lacuna in constitution of ICC. If you see, even in our national sports federation also we are having this problem of sexual harassment, and because of that many women athletes are not coming forward. Yes or no? Even last year there was a big cases issues happened regarding this national sports federation related sexual harassment. Okay, even in this sports federations also around 30 federations are there. Out of this only 16 constituted this ICC, not all. And next one here is improper composition of ICC. And next one here is there is lack of clarity on this law also. Lot of the people, they don't know about this law, and even there is lack of awareness about this law, guys. So because of this, now this present article is saying that we have to make certain changes to this POSH Act now. Even it came up in 2013, but now in 2025 we have to come up with increasing of penalties, increased punishments, and even we have to focus on increased awareness to the people, composition of this ICCs, everything, guys. Now let us see the next one, that is prelims practice questions. See the questions, guys. With reference to Guru Tej Bahadur, consider the following statements. He was the 9th Sikh Guru and the youngest son of Guru Har Gobind. Is that right or wrong? He founded the city of Anandpur Sahib. His 116 Shabads and 59 Saloks are included in Guru Granth Sahib. And next question is, with reference to PM 2.5, consider the following statements. It consists of particles with aerodynamic diameter less than 2.5 micrometers. India's National Ambient Air Quality Standards annual limit for PM 2.5 is 40 mg per meter cube. WHO guidelines value for annual mean PM 2.5 is 15 mg per meter cube. There is one statement wrong in this. Which is that statement? First wrong, huh? 3 is wrong. 3 is 5 here, not 15. So like that UPSC will play game with numbers. Second one is right, I said 40. And third one is 5, not 15. Okay, like that you have to practice the questions of PYQs and as well as some practice questions so that you will be getting clarity on what is sure and what is not sure and how you have to eliminate the statements. These are the important articles that happened in our today's Hindi newspaper. By this I'm concluding. Thank you so much guys for watching, and please do like this class and share this class to your friends. And you can follow us on our Telegram channel where we are providing PDF of this notes. And also you can follow us on our Instagram channel where we are providing mains question with model answer, prelims question with answer, and also current affairs in short, guys. Don't miss that.